The first thought were like, yeah, we could stay home, we could play, but then I think they got bored.
Really, we've had to tap into like our creativity.
I think we'll appreciate that an awful lot more can be done online than we thought before.
A virtual resource can impact people's lives just as much as a physical space.
More in Common is checking in.
We are recreating the entire UC Berkeley campus in Minecraft.
With the class of 2020 taking graduation digital.
There are students from all over the world that are working on this.
And some of the only kids already heading back to school.
Some parents is thanking us. Other parents are very anxious.
It's all ahead as we check in. Hi, I'm Michael Koenig, and this episode is all about students and teachers going the extra mile. And we're starting with UC Berkeley's class of 2020 that can now step onto a virtual campus and graduate online.
We are recreating the entire UC Berkeley campus in Minecraft.
Officially, it's called Localish, so it's kind of a play on words of Berkeley and Minecraft blocks. The feeling of walking around is eerily similar to walking around it in real life.
Minecraft lets us build in three-dimensional space using meter-by-meter cubes that allow us to do pretty decent likenesses of all the buildings on campus.
Initially, we were just going to build a stadium, but then after that, we're just like, hey, we finished the stadium, let's keep adding on more things. And then soon it kind of tumbled into this entire campus project.
Effectively, in a month, we've built pretty much every single building on the entire UC Berkeley campus.
There are students from all over the world that are working on this. None of the team has actually met each other in real life.
Communication is very well organized across a couple of different systems, all online. The voice chats, Zoom meetings every once in a while.
We have created a virtual community that is based on our members of UC Berkeley. I kind of see this as a pretty big experiment into how a virtual resource can impact people's lives just as much as a physical space. We're also planning on setting some kind of campus tour up because students aren't going to be able to come onto the campus. We have some tour guides who do it officially that are really interested, and a lot of the incoming class really want to see what campus looks like, and it does feel like an actual tour. It's a pretty special and unique thing and can be quite emotional, especially for the seniors who are graduating this year. They don't get that closure, so it really gives them the kind of outlet to say, okay, this is my final step here.
Our goal with using this structure is to host a commencement ceremony on the day that our commencement ceremony would have actually happened.
I'm imagining just the entire campus-wide party, and we'll have the party start off early in the afternoon, and then eventually around the evening, we'll have this virtual ceremony at the stadium, and after that, the party continues on.
Because of how quickly this exploded, we're actually also adding on top of that a musical event for the purpose of raising money for COVID-19.
There is an overwhelming positive response. If you go online and you kind of look at the comments, people are getting pretty emotional about it because of how lifelike it is and how much effort the builders are putting into putting these campuses up and adding those little details that make it special.
It's going to be an open day for everyone to just explore campus, kind of relive their memories, take photos.
And for those who don't have Minecraft, we will be streaming all of this. So it's totally fine if you don't have the game or your computer can't run the game. There's so many ways we're looking forward to allow you to participate.
The commencement is May 16th. I think we're going to put out a Google form and post it on the big university pages to see who's really interested, maybe a sign-up thing to get your diploma. We are in the process of figuring out how to give everyone a cap and gown and be able to toss it up and kind of have that last celebratory moment.
We want to show the world that the class of 2020, even just Berkeley class of 2020, we've gone through so much. We've gone through protests, we've gone through power outages, we've gone through fires, but I think this whole project itself shows our resilience and our ability to carry on. So right now is also a very difficult time for many students. Doing this, we're showing the world that we can carry on.
Next, you've got to meet content creator Lizzy Capri. She has over 5 million followers and all kinds of advice for how young people can make the most of their time in quarantine.
All right, ready? In 3, 2, 1.
Good to check in with you, Lizzy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I mean, this is great. You have more ideas about what to do during quarantine and the lockdown than anyone I've ever seen. You've got trampolines going, you've got ramps throughout your house, you have more activities with your dog, Millie than most. So tell me, how do you keep yourself entertained during this time?
Really, we've had to tap into like our creativity. We've had to be super resourceful with the things that we already have. And, you know, we came up with a bunch of ideas that are so easy to do at home. For example, like we did a Floor is Lava video where, you know, anyone can really recreate this idea and it's super fun. All you have to do is like not touch the ground.
Yeah, you seem to take it up to a whole nother notch though, with the hot tub and the trampoline, stacking the trampolines. What is kind of the way you guys push the limit there?
The silver lining in all this is that I've come up with ideas that I don't think I would have thought of. We actually filmed a really crazy video where I transformed Carter's backyard. He's also a content creator. We transformed it into a water park because it was such a hot day out in LA, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I just want to be outside, like I just want to do something fun, but I can't go to a water park. You know, like what if I just build one in the backyard?
Yeah, I mean, you're just a visionary when it comes to being creative. What is your kind of guidance to kids right now as they're hunkered down at home, as they're trying to figure out how to make the most of this?
I would say my advice to them is staying positive through all this. I know it's definitely a really hard time, and I know it's so much easier said than done, but you know, there are so many things that you can really use your imagination with, and you can really tap into your creativity. I got myself a guitar. I always wanted to learn. This is the perfect time to really pick up a hobby like that. It's good to stay positive, and I think with that mindset, like you can really achieve a lot more than you think given the confines.
I greatly appreciate your time here, Lizzy. You've inspired me to try to revamp my house and make it a little more lively.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me.
Next, I'm checking in with an old college professor of mine, Harvard's Steven Pinker, who's talking about some of the numbers around COVID-19, as well as how higher education might change in the days ahead. I'm so glad we could check in with you, Professor Pinker. I was your student years ago, and you have long been an advocate and inspiration in terms of looking at the numbers, looking at the data to understand the world. How have you been synthesizing what's happening and some of the numbers we've seen regarding coronavirus cases as it spreads around the globe?
The main thing to keep in mind is our difficulty in appreciating exponential growth, a process that doubles every unit time. It's hard to wrap our minds around it, and there are experiments that you show people an exponential process, you describe it to them as exponential, you say, well, how big will it be in 5 days, 10 days, and they always lowball it. Fortunately, together with our immune systems, because we are cognitive creatures, we can also figure out ways of outsmarting the virus. The combination of vaccines and antivirals and public health measures like disinfecting and social distancing mean that there's going to be a lot of misery, a lot of tragedy, but somewhere between 1 year and 2 years from now, we'll have gotten it under control.
And then you're obviously a professor, and Harvard quickly dismissed their entire rest of the year. How do you think this is going to impact education and college education?
I think we'll appreciate that an awful lot more can be done online than we thought before. And it'll be much easier for people to call Skype and Zoom and FaceTime meetings now that we see how well they work and how easy the technology is to master. I don't think that'll put an end to the classroom or the business meeting, but it almost certainly will reduce their frequency as people realize it's just so much cheaper and more convenient to sit behind a webcam. To say nothing of the ability to connect with our loved ones for pretty much free. Paradoxically, there may be more opportunities for social connection now that we have the time, we have the technology, and the barriers to using the technology have fallen.
I love that sentiment, and it's so true. And I think there's an opportunity here. It's a time where we have a lot of it, and to spend it well is so important here.
Well, thank you.
And it's great to connect with you and catch up.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Graduation ceremonies and commencement addresses have been canceled around the world due to coronavirus. But here at Localish, we think that the class of 2020 deserves an inspirational send-off as they head into the next chapter of their lives. That's why we're launching hashtag Corona Commencement, because even when we're physically distant, we can still celebrate these graduates. How does it work? Step 1, record a video of you giving a little word of wisdom, your little commencement address. Only has to be 30 seconds to a minute. Step 2, upload the video to one of your social accounts using the hashtag Corona Commencement. Step 3, challenge your friends to do the same and tag them in your post. The class of 2020 isn't going to get the graduation they were expecting, but we can all do our best to make this big moment for them unforgettable. Now we're heading over to Denmark, the very first European country to reopen its schools. And we're talking to Headmaster Marco Damgaard about procedures needed to keep students and teachers safe.
When we locked down, the first thought were like, yeah, we could stay home, we could play. But then I think they got bored, and they missed their friends, and they missed also their teachers. So they are really happy now.
Denmark is the very first country in Europe to reopen its schools. A lot of others are looking to you to see how this works, how you disinfect the classroom. What are some of your procedures in place?
We have procedures for distance. So all the children have to sit with 2 meters between each other. We have taught every children when we reopen the school and how do you wash your hands in a good manner, and how do you keep the distance, and how do you cough in your sleep, and so on.
And even with those precautions, are some parents nervous about having their kids go back to school?
Yes, of course they are. The parents are not equal in matters of. Some is totally fine with it. Some is thanking us at school, saying this is so good for my child to come back to the friends and to the teachers. Other parents are very anxious, and some parents is still keeping their children at home, even though we've reopened.
And what guidance do you have for educators and teachers here in the States as they start to make the decisions and as they start to welcome kids back into the classrooms? And for some, it may be not until the fall.
We have some basic rules. We have to make sure that they can wash their hands like every 2 hours, or when you go from one classroom to another, or if you go outside and then come inside again, you have to wash your hands. You have to keep some distance, so we have decided to be a lot of teachers to a smaller amount of children, so we can take care of them. And then when we are outside and they are playing, they are in smaller groups, and they're like 5 children together, and they play together.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Marco, for talking to us and telling us what's going on over there in Denmark as we look for examples around the world of how education's changing.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks so much for watching today's episode, and remember to check in with your own family and friends in the days ahead.